Hi there, my name is Ayala Connell and I'm a gluten-free and paleo chef, and this is an episode of Simply Paleo with me. Today we're going to be making super decadent chocolate mousse or chocolate pudding, and we're actually using avocados to make it, which makes them so healthy. So let's talk a little bit about essential fatty acids. So the trend today definitely is to get more fat, to do the ketogenic diet, and as is the case with most trends, there's usually some sliver of value to it, and there's an aspect of that diet that you can carry on with you. The fats are super important to the health of our body. So let me say a little bit about that. Let's flash back to high school biology, and we'll talk about the human cell. So the human cell, the wall of the cell, is made up of essential fatty acids, or phospholipids is another word for it. And the wall of the cell is incredibly important because that essentially is what determines the absorption of nutrients and the excretion of toxins or waste from our body. It's really an integral part of our functional capacity as human beings to be able to thrive on this planet. And when there's any type of infection or toxicity or weakness in the wall of a tissue, whether it's a muscle or an organ or an artery or a vein or a nerve or whatever, any type of tissue in the body needs essential fatty acids to seal up that hole, to create more integrity in the lining of the gut. Think about those phrases like leaky gut syndrome, for example, or dysbiosis. It's all about what's called an increased permeability, which means the wall of the cell or cells of that tissue are too weak and too much can pass through. So maybe we're not getting the right nutrition because it's not coming in, but too much toxins are coming in as well. And the way to fix it is to get more essential fatty acids, but they're called essential because our body doesn't make them. They're called essential because we need to get them in our diet to get the right amount. So of course there's cod liver oil and fish oils and those types of things, and that's great. But getting fat in our diet is so important for our nervous system, our heart, our gut, you name it. So avocados are a fantastic source of fat, and they also have protein to them. Now, thinking about back in the day, the California low-fat diet is very likely the reason why there's so much heart disease and diabetes and all these issues today that we're suffering and struggling with as a population of people, particularly in this Western United States of America, So trying to increase our fat is not going to cause increased weight gain unless that fat is coming in the source of sugar and high carbohydrate foods. If we can try to find a way to reduce that type of sugar but increase the fat, that's where health really comes from. So hence chocolate avocado pudding that does not taste like chocolate guacamole. I can be sure of that for you. So we've got our avocados, blooper, and we need a knife, and I just realized I didn't grab one. So hold on, you can hear my voice. Here's a little blooper for the video while I go get a knife from my kitchen. Yay! And off we go. All right, so we've got a little paring knife and we've got an avocado. So what we're going to do, you can take the little stem out. We're going to open up our food processor. If you've got a blender, you can use a blender, but if it's a narrow blender, you'll have some trouble because what happens is the avocado being so thick starts to blend, it creates an air pocket in the bottom and it makes it hard for it to kind of get incorporated. But if you have a wider, one of those newer Vitamixes, for example, those are great because they really function like a food processor. So here we have our avocado, and what we're going to do is we're going to slice it lengthwise in half, and then we're just going to gently squeeze it to get it off the pit. And then we're going to take a spoon, not a knife, but a spoon, and we're going to scoop out the flesh. Now, you want the avocado to be soft, but you don't want it to be so soft that it's dark inside. You want it to be really that light green color. So then you take out the pit, and then you scoop out the rest of the flesh. Now, we're going to use the flesh of about 4 avocados. You never really know what the avocado looks like inside. You kind of have to go on faith. So maybe grab a couple of extras just in case, and then you always have some avocado for snacks or meals through the week. So we're doing pretty well here. So we're going to just put in the flesh of 4 avocados. We're going to pick the little pit out. I love avocados. They're great for so many different food things. All right, so then we're going to keep going here. Now, after the avocados, We're going to put in the chocolate, which we'll talk a little bit about, a little bit of salt, some sweetener. I like to use maple syrup, but you can also use honey. That's a great option as well. All right, so we've got, this is our third avocado, and now we're going to move on to our fourth. So we're going to open it up, make sure that it looks good, which it does, and if you're going to do more avocados in this because you've got a larger group that you're feeding, that's fine. You just need to increase the amount of the other ingredients accordingly. Okay, so here we go. Here is our fourth. Try not to get any of the peel inside because it'd be really off-putting as a texture. Okay. All right, so we've got the flesh of 4 avocados in there. Then we're going to move our avocado out of the way. And then we're going to put in about 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. Now I want to talk about this. You can use any type of unsweetened cocoa powder, and that's fine. The key is that it doesn't have any sweetener added to it. But there is a difference between cocoa and cacao. Now this is cacao powder. Now when you think about the chocolate beans, they're typically fermented, and then if they go just at that point, that's cacao. But then if the cacao beans that are fermented are then roasted, that becomes cocoa. And that's more typically what you find on the shelf. The cacao is usually a little more expensive, but there's some wonderful nutritional properties to it. First, it's less refined, and second of all, you get that fermentation benefit as well. So this is a fabulous company that makes cacao. You can find it in other places as well. We've got 1/3 cup of cacao powder, so we're going to put that in, but again, you can use unsweetened cocoa powder as well. And then we're going to put in about 1/3 cup of milk. I like to use hemp milk because we have some coconut and nut allergies and dairy allergies in our family, so this is a good option. It has a nice thickness to it, similar to a nut milk, which is great for this sort of thing. So we're going to put in about 1/3 cup. All right, you want to leave these ingredients out because you never know if you're going to want to modify the thickness or the texture or the sweetness. And then we're going to put in a pinch of salt because a little bit of salt makes everything more robust in flavor, and certainly chocolate and salt go well together. So just a pinch, and this is sea salt. I love to use sea salt. We're going to do about 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I like to find a vanilla extract that also doesn't have any added sugar because you just don't need that sugar. You're typically adding it to something that's already sweetened. And then we're going to do between 1/3 and 1/2 cup of maple syrup. Now it really depends on how sweet you like it, or whether you're working on trying to reduce your insulin resistance and sugar metabolism and all that. You can decide. Nice thing is you can put in the smaller amount, scrape down the sides, run the food processor, and then taste test it. And if it's not sweet enough, you can always add more. So we're going to put about 1/3 cup in. All right, everything's just going in together. And then we're going to turn it on. So we got the top on our food processor. We got our spatula ready for scraping down the sides, and now we're going to turn it on. And this is like making chocolate guacamole, but it won't taste like it, I promise. And you just let it run for a little while. And you can see all the little bits of green that are moving around and becoming chocolate. Looks beautiful. All right, I'm going to scrape down the sides a little. And you know what this reminds me so much of, I know most of you have had this as kids, those little chocolate pudding cups. They weren't particularly healthy for you, probably had a lot of preservatives and certainly a lot of refined sugars, but they were delicious. And this reminds me so much of that. Yes, it's a mousse. Yes, it's a pudding. It reminds me of that so much. Okay, let's put this on again. And it's less and less green, which is what you're looking for. You might choose to scrape it down one more time. It just depends on your food processor. All right, maybe we'll scrape it down one more time, but it's looking pretty smooth to me. Now, if I were by myself, I'd probably be licking the spatula. in between, but we're going to keep it clean for this video. Make it seem like I'm not doing that. If the kids were around, of course they would be doing it, and that would be fine. All right, we'll turn it on one more time. And I don't see any green. All right. It's looking really good. And it doesn't smell like avocados. So, what are we going to do here? Let's get this off. And normally I would just take all this and put it in a bowl, and you can just leave it in the fridge for the afternoon or the bit before you guys get to dessert. But we're just going to take a little bit out and taste test it. What do you say? Okay, so I'm just using an ice cream scooper. This works out really well because I have kiddos at home that are always worried that one's getting more than the other. So this helps because it makes it more equal and proportional, but otherwise you can do whatever you want. Okay, so here you have this beautiful, beautiful chocolate avocado mousse or pudding, and it's divine. So let's give it a taste test. And it's so smooth and glossy. Oh, so yummy. It's smooth, it's thick. It doesn't taste like avocado, except the texture is super fatty and glossy and just rich. And the chocolate, I put in 1/3 cup. You can see that it's not crazy chocolatey. If you prefer it to be much more chocolatey, you could definitely add in 1/2 cup instead of 1/3 cup or even more. And then the sweetness is perfect. It's not overpoweringly sweet, but it's got definitely a little bit of a sweet kick to it. You can always add a little bit more vanilla if you want more of a vanilla undertone. It's up to you. It's a creative slate, clean slate for you. Really delicious. Such a simple recipe and so healthy for you. So I highly recommend you try this. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. Any kind of questions you have or wish list cravings of things you'd love to learn how to make in the paleo way, just jot me a line at www.simplypaleo.com. And I hope to hear from you. And check me out again on the next episode of Simply Paleo with me. Thanks so much.